Welcome to this Screen New South Wales Digital Games Seed Development Program online information session. We are running this as a resource to help those looking to apply for the second round of this program and to answer some questions that we've received from prospective applicants.
Before we continue, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are all gathered here today. Whilst this is a pre-recorded online session, I'm located on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We'd like to pay respects to elders, past, present, and across the different lands and nations that this is being watched from. Sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. This online session will be split into 4 different sections: an intro on Screen New South Wales, an overview of the program, a video we'll be sharing from a recent grant recipient from the last round, Adam Younes, and finishing with a section on frequently asked questions and tips that will make up the bulk of the online session. As for introductions, my name is Ryan Penning, and I'm the Online and Digital Games Investment Manager at Screen New South Wales, where I work across the Screen Investment team as well as collaborating with Anna.
Hello, I'm Anna and I'm the Manager Strategy, PDV and Digital Games at Screen New South Wales.
Who is Screen New South Wales and what is our role in the New South Wales games industry?
Screen New South Wales champions creative innovation and economic sustainability for the state's content creators and digital storytellers. As a New South Wales government agency, we lead industry changes to foster local content for a global audience, no matter the size of the screen. Screen New South Wales is committed to supporting the digital games industry through programs such as the Digital Games Seed Development Program, as outlined in our 3-year Screen and Digital Games Strategy. The Digital Games Seed Development Program is focused on assisting emerging to small, medium game developers or studios. This fund provides a grant of up to $30,000 for early stage game development.
The funds can also be used for a variety of purposes you would need when starting a game project, which can include scoping technical requirements, exploring commercial, creative, and market potential, as well as creating pitch materials like a demo or vertical slice build.
The program opened on Monday, 13th of January, and will be open for applications until Monday, 24th February, 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll now do a brief overview of the program guidelines, but a lot of what we're going to cover in this session is available to read on the program page via our website, which you can go through in your own time.
As we mentioned previously, this program's objective is to help support applicants who are at the early stages of their game project. The aims of the program are to support developers who want to advance the early concept of their game so they can reach the next stage of development, assist successful applicants looking to prepare their project to raise additional finance for full-scale development, and encourage sustainable growth for the New South Wales game sector and its diverse pipeline of game talent.
Applicant eligibility. We encourage all prospective applicants to thoroughly read the program guidelines or eligibility requirements. But broadly speaking, all applicants must have an ABN. Individual applicants must be a New South Wales resident. And if it's a company applicant, the company must be incorporated in Australia and be registered in New South Wales. Applicants must have the right to carry out the project that they are applying for, noting that successful applicants will need to demonstrate this through a solicitor's opinion letter certifying chain of title. Applicants must also have at least one project team member with a key creative credit on a game that has been released. This can be on any game platform, including itch.io or Steam. The following are not eligible for this program: full-time secondary or tertiary students. This includes applicants with students in their project team. Part-time students can be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Employees of any government screen agency. Applicants who are a licensee of a service under the Broadcasting Services Act or a related body corporate of such licensee.
Eligible projects. When it comes to eligibility on game projects, we are looking for games that are intended to be publicly released, a game project that is in the early stages of development, which can be concept, prototypes, vertical slice, or an early development stage, completely digital games intended for public release, games that are intended for single player or multiplayer. The type of game projects that are ineligible are ones that involve gambling, which you can read about further on the program guidelines, games developed for research, training, advertising, or B2B audiences, and games that aren't 100% digital in nature, such as board games. Assessment criteria. After eligibility is established, all applicants will be evaluated against the following criteria: The first piece of assessment criteria is the game idea itself. We are looking at the quality of the game idea, how compelling it is, and where you're heading with the concept. This is across different areas, but ultimately, we want to see great games with quality submitted material. The second criteria is audience, which will be assessed on your ability to show an understanding of the game's market and its pathway to audience. The third is the creative team and development plan, which is, do you have the right people and the team fit to deliver this project? Does the team have the experience and track record to deliver on the project? Along with this, the quality and feasibility of the planning materials appropriate to the project's budget and schedule. The final piece is participation and diversity, which is the diversity and authenticity of the team's skills, background, experiences, and perspectives. Alongside this is how robustly the project advances diversity across one or more of Screen New South Wales priority areas, which include industry access and opportunities for training or career progression or mentoring, underserved audiences or groups your game might be for, and any First Nations content or participation. It is understandable that at an early stage of development, you might not have considered everything for your game project yet. That's fine, as the panel includes people from the games industry that understand this and are assessing based on the outcomes for the program. Please take time to read the guidelines on the program webpage, where you'll find further details about what exactly the assessment criteria is. What is it like to apply? For a lot of people, this might be their first time considering applying. So one of our previous recipients, Admin S, has recorded a video on his experience applying for the program. Please keep in mind that Adam will speak about his own experience, and this might not be reflective of the development stage your project is at. But we hope this video offers you some insight that you find valuable.
Hi, I'm Adam, creator and director of Insignia, which was a solo project up until last year before receiving funding from Screen Australia and the Screen New South Wales Digital Game Seed Development Program. Insignia is a pixel art side-scrolling action-adventure game which I started working on in 2017 under the studio name Up on Hill. It began as a little dare to push myself into committing to game development and has since grown into my full-time gig alongside my YouTube channel and Twitch channel called Indie Tales, where I share my development journey. By about 4 years in, I'd had a few false starts at getting into game production all alone. Because of my success in building an audience online, showcasing new game content in a way that matched my social media schedule was critical, and something that I couldn't achieve by myself with my game's higher production values. I knew what I was making and why it was special, but it was becoming obvious that I needed a team to take it to release. After considering my options, I decided that grant funding was the most practical first step at building momentum towards something like crowdfunding or publisher funding later down the track. Setting this goal created a deadline that pushed me to get the game into a tighter shape, which I probably needed. I dedicated a few months to applying to grants, and I applied to more than one. Doing it this way helped me justify the time putting into the applications to make them better, and something that I thought would increase my chances of success. I reached out to the recipients of other funds to learn from their success, and I ended up producing a lot of additional material to show that I understood what I was making, why I was making it, who it was for, what success looked like, and how the funding fit into that plan. I think what made my application stand out was being able to share a vision for these things while also showcasing that I knew how to actually make the game. I had a playable prototype, but I think anything that you can produce that inspires confidence in your creative ideas and your vision, while also demonstrating your competence as a developer, will really help your application. I've always had an interest in the health of the game dev scene here in Australia, and particularly in New South Wales because I live here. I think it's really important that there are businesses making games locally, and I want to contribute to that. I made a point of expressing these sentiments in my application, which I thought aligned quite well with the grant's mission. I think it's really key here to show perspective. Game dev is such a personal thing, and if you're making something that matters to you, then you're going to be really close to the project. You're going to be early in your dev cycle, and you're probably going to want to make it look as good as possible for the people who are going to be seeing it for the first time. It's really important here not to fixate, though, on just purely game polish at the risk of sacrificing some of that long-term strategic vision that you need to demonstrate. Remember, you're not just pitching a game here, or yourself as a developer, but also as a business too. If you're watching this, then like me, you probably understand that one day your game will need to be a finished thing. If you intend to take it to market, then you're going to need to know how to be taken seriously, and I really feel like applying for grant funding was a meaningful and low-risk step in building the relevant skills there. Take a few weeks, even a couple of months to get your application right and to make sure you're ready to take advantage of the opportunity. This is one of the best ways that you can actually build traction for your game early on without sacrificing in your creative vision or in the equity in the game's success. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening and good luck in your applications and your games.
Thanks again to Adam for being so generous with his time and supplying that video. We'll now cover some frequently asked questions.
To start with, what is in-kind work?
This is a contribution of a good or a service other than money, such as voluntary labour, donated materials, equipment, or products. The calculation for in-kind contribution can be based on best estimates, but where they are included in your budget, it must be measurable and provable. There are various ways you can calculate in-kind contribution. For example, you could use an hourly or daily rate for voluntary services. What are third-party contributions?
This is any non-Screen New South Wales contribution that is going into project for the stage of development that you are seeking Screen New South Wales funding for. A third-party contributor is someone other than yourself or Screen New South Wales who can provide financial support. This may include members of the project team, another screen agency, or private investors. I previously applied and wasn't successful. Can I apply again?
Yes. If you previously applied, you can apply again with the same project. You are also able to submit a new game concept if you have a new one to submit since last applying. Resubmitted projects should, however, consider demonstrating any substantial changes that have been made since the previous submission. Does my project need to be built entirely in New South Wales to be eligible?
No. However, in our guidelines it is stated that we prioritise teams who are all New South Wales residents, and if the application is successful, Screen New South Wales will only fund New South Wales elements, i.e. all expenditure must be in New South Wales and spent on New South Wales-based funding recipients, contractors, or other suppliers. How is my grant amount paid out?
Successful funding recipients will enter into a standard agreement with Screen New South Wales, setting out the terms and conditions for the funding, which will consider milestones and acquittal conditions. What if there is big changes in my project after signing the contract?
Every situation is unique, and we are here to help. Just reach out if anything changes and we'll consider it on a case-by-case basis. If something does come up that changes the circumstances or timeline of the project after you've received funding, just reach out and let us know as soon as possible of the changes. It can be as simple as needing more time to complete a milestone or stage, but please let us know in advance.
Can Screen New South Wales provide any feedback or advice on my application?
Screen New South Wales staff are available to provide technical advice and general information to potential applicants on the interpretation of the guidelines, including the types of activity eligible for funding and support with the online application process. However, we cannot help directly with your application. To maintain a fair and equitable process, we cannot edit or correct any applications or provide advice on the content or choices required against assessment criteria. We understand there may be interest from unsuccessful applicants to discuss the outcome of the application, so for this round, we'll be giving any unsuccessful applicants the option to follow up and schedule a 10-minute call with us if they'd like to discuss this. Can I apply multiple times with different games?
There's nothing under the current guidelines that limits applicants applying multiple times with different game projects. But in the guidelines, we do stipulate that there can be only one application per game. This means if you and your team are working on a game, only one of you can submit an application for the project. I've never made a presentation or applied to a government grant program before. What should I be considering?
It's crucial to consider how best to position your game against the guidelines of the program. Some simple tips to keep handy that can be applied to really any business level presentation. Use diagrams or visualizations where appropriate to convey concepts or ideas. Keep writing clear and concise. Write in a third-person business style. Focus on big picture and what your project has to offer and how the business will benefit and be sustainable with it. If making statements or assertions such as, I assume we will get 40,000 Steam wish lists by April 2027, then make sure your reasoning for it is clear. Describe the strategy and methodology. Avoid using stock word and phrases like unique, specificity with language communicate through intent more effectively than common expressions. And finally, be highly specific on who your target market is. For example, we're targeting casual gamers interested in sci-fi dating sims who have never played games like, rather than saying something like female gamers who are between the ages of 21 and 50. Should we include entries for team members who will be onboarded in the future, even if we don't know who they might be?
You should include details based on known project team members, both confirmed and proposed, as you will need to provide their details on them as individuals. If you're looking to include additional team members but don't have their details, you can outline the potential roles in your budget and development plan instead. We know that project details are subject to change. However, we do ask applicants to provide as much information they can at the time of application, as we can only assess projects based on what is provided in the application submission. Should I send a game build or link to a build in my application?
For this program, it isn't necessary or required as part of an application. However, if you are applying to help get your project to a vertical slice stage of development, it may be relevant to see footage or evidence of where your project is currently and use it as part of your application and business case.
My game project is a small project that requires little investment to develop. Am I still eligible?
Yes, it is. All applications are evaluated against the same assessment criteria. Is there a file size limit to attachable documentation?
Screen New South Wales uses Smarty Grants platform to receive submissions for all applications, which can only hold 25 megs of data. Any documentation should be no more than 1,500 words, and if you are including a pitch video, we ask applicants to limit this to 5 minutes. If your application files exceed these limits, then you'll need to add them as links to an external source where we can download. This could be the case for any creative pictures that use high-res images or content like high-res videos or builds. If you do end up including links, just make sure they're accessible before sending an application. What if my question didn't get answered?
If you have a question not covered in this session, please reach out to us via pdvgames@screen.newsouthwales.gov.au. Before we wrap up, some final things to consider. 1, read the guidelines. And 2, download a preview of the application form. Doing both will help you see what materials you need to prepare as part of your application submission. 3, don't leave it to the last minute. Applications close on the 24th of February 2025 at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, which gives you about a month to start preparing from today. Screen New South Wales can only assess projects based on what is provided in the application submission, so it's important that you take the time to consider and prepare your submission. It's not a race. We assess all applications after the round closes individually. 4, if in doubt, contact us if you have any questions prior to submitting your application. While we can't help you directly with your application, we can assist in clarifying questions you may have in regard to the program guidelines and the application form itself. Thank you for tuning in, and best of luck with your applications.